Good day, class. This is the second part of our lesson on motion graph. Let's get into this.
Physics tutorial with Sir Kets. We have here a velocity time graph of an object's motion. On the y-axis is the velocity and on the x-axis is the time. Even if the graph shows only the velocity, we can also determine the displacement traveled by the object by looking at the area covered by the graph per time interval. The change in displacement traveled by the object can be calculated using area defined by the graph line and the line of the x-axis. In this case, the shape formed by the graph line and the x-axis from 0 to 1 second is a triangle. So we will use the area formula for a triangle, which is base times height over 2. The height of the formed triangle is 10 meters per second. The base of the formed triangle is 1 second. So for the time range of 0 to 1 second, the change in displacement is 5 meters. The object moved 5 meters away from its original position. Let us calculate the change in displacement of the object from 1 to 3 seconds. Remember that the change in displacement of the object is based from the area made by the x-axis and the graph line during this time interval. In this case, the shape formed by the x-axis line and the graph line is a rectangle, so we will use the area formula for a rectangle, which is base times height. Take note that we do not divide this by 2 because the shape is not a triangle. The base is from 1 second to 3 seconds, so we subtract 1 second from 3 seconds. So the change in displacement of the object from 1 to 3 seconds is 20 meters. This is the calculation of the change in displacement from 3 to 4 seconds. In this case, we use the formula base times height over 2 because the shape formed by the x-axis line and the graph line is a triangle. This is the calculation of the change in displacement from 4 to 5 seconds. The change in displacement is -5 meters. This means that the object moved 5 meters back towards its starting location. This is the calculation of the change in displacement from 5 to 7 seconds. The change in displacement is -20 meters. This means that the object moved 20 meters back towards its starting location. The area under the curve of a graph is positive if it's located above the x-axis. It's negative if it is located below the x-axis. Here, we have an acceleration versus time graph. What do you think is the quantity represented by its area under the curve? The area under the curve of acceleration time graph is the change in speed or velocity of the object. Let us calculate the change in velocity of the object from 1 to 4 seconds. The area under the curve of the graph from 1 to 4 seconds is composed of 2 shapes. Let us describe the rectangle area as area 1 and the triangle area as area 2. So the change in velocity of this motion from 1 to 4 seconds is the total of change in velocity values of area 1 and area 2. The shape of area 1 is rectangle, so we will use the area formula of a rectangle, which is just base times height. This is the calculation of the change in velocity for area 1. The shape of area 2 is triangle, so we will use the area formula for a triangle, which is base times height over 2. The change in velocity of this motion from 1 to 4 seconds is 10.5 meters per second. The change in velocity is positive, so the object increases velocity by 10.5 meters per second. Remember that if the change in velocity is positive, the object increases speed. Here is another example, wherein the area is found below the x-axis and the value of the change in velocity is negative. Remember that for us to calculate the change in velocity, we have to identify first the x-axis line and the graph line for the specified time interval of the problem. The shape formed by the graph line from the x-axis is a triangle, so we will use the triangle area formula. The change in velocity is negative, so the speed or velocity of the object decreases.